Here we see the part 1 drawing that show our 6 rectangular prisms that look like they're moving farther away from us in space. Remember, linear perspective is how we see the world around us, especially when we see buildings and other things that are built by people. When we want to add details, we need to think about our horizontal and vertical lines being used on the front of the buildings. That's that rectangle that we started with for each of these prisms. We use our convergence lines, or those diagonal lines that all point to the vanishing point, on the sides, the insides of each of these buildings. So I want you to be creative and have fun with the details. And if I want to create a door for this building, I would again start with vertical lines and horizontal lines. Remember to make sure that you are using your eye to judge the distance between the edge of your paper and the edge of your straight edge. And I could make some windows as well. I'd like to put many windows in this building. And again, these are horizontal and vertical lines. We can divide these areas up using more vertical or horizontal. I'm going to try to use about the same space in between my lines. And I can add those details for vertical and using vertical and horizontal lines. When I move to the side of a building, I need to make sure that I am lining up the top and the bottoms of my details with this vanishing point. If I have similar windows on the inside, the street side of this building, I want to make sure that the front and back lines are vertical, but that the top and bottom lines point to the vanishing point. I can add that middle section. A couple more on the edges, making sure I'm using vertical for those lines, and then a diagonal convergence line. Again, touching the vanishing point, making sure I'm using the same edge of my straight edge or ruler. And now I have window details on that side, the inside of the building. I'd like to put a door on this side as well, starting with vertical line and a vertical line here, and then making sure that I'm touching the vanishing point and lining up with the vanishing point. The line in the middle of the doors, I can use a vertical line. I want to use the same process as I go through and create some different details on each of these buildings. I don't want them all to be the same, and I recommend that you make some choices that are a little different in each one. For this building on the left, I'm going to make a curved door. almost thinking of a door to a fire station. I want to make sure that these lines are the same length if I'm making a curve, really in any case. And I'm going to lightly sketch in a curve. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to make it darker. I'm going to add some windows on top. So this building is going to have 3 sets of windows. And I'd actually like to have these in line with the windows below, which means I'll have to do some erasing. All that being done with vertical and horizontal lines. Now on the inside of the building, I need to be using convergence lines. Starting with vertical, and lining up with my vanishing point on the same side of my straight edge or ruler. Any lines that are too long, I can erase. We're going to use that same idea with each of the buildings. Remember that when we get to the tops of our details that are above the horizon line, they angle and tilt back the opposite direction that the ones below the horizon line do. Here we have our 6 rectangular prisms. Now they're turned into buildings. I'd like to make my road lines, these first convergence lines that we drew, a little darker. I'd also like to maybe put in a sidewalk. And I think that we can fit a sidewalk in. The lines on the sidewalk between each piece of the pavement are going to be horizontal. For lines in the middle of our street, I definitely want to be using our vanishing point. I'm going to put a double line here and then make some lanes, making sure that I'm splitting that distance equally, and I'll just use a dashed line to show different lanes. Pretty big street going through our town. We can add, embellish, and be as creative as we want with any of the empty space. And you can also color your work. Have fun. Do your best.